Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. My guest this morning, one of my guests, is lawyer and political affairs consultant, Curtis Adigba. Good morning to you, Curtis.
Good morning, Yori. How are you?
Fine, thank you very much. And we also will be linking up in our Abuja studio with Ibrahim Abdullahi, Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. In fact, I can see that Honorable Abdullahi is in place. Good morning to you. Okay. Good morning, sir. No? Not yet? Well, we were just saying that we also will be speaking with you as soon as we can get, those gremlins out of the cables. They tend to want to dwell there from time to time. We'll be looking today at, as I said, Ibrahim Abdullahi is the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. In studio here, I have Curtis Adigba. And so let's start off, because the search, I think, after all said and done with the presidential primaries, most of them are known now. Most of the presidential candidates are already known. In the APC, we have Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and in the PDP, we have former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. So the search has now moved to their deputies. That's going to be important. They're going to have to choose strategically, and at the same time, there are all sorts of, I imagine, in-house considerations. The big one, of course, is the whole reason for all of this, which is to win the election. And first of all, what do you think, Curtis? How crucially important, if at all it is the running mate question to the success of the aspirants?
Now, one of the most and first consequential action of a flag bearer of any political party in the world is the choice of the vice presidential nominee. Now, an aspirant is not required to have a vice presidential aspirant, but is required by law to nominate one.
Yes.
After he gets a ticket. And how he understands the political environment, the sensitivity of the entire political ecosystem.
Within a given party or even outside of the party.
In fact, when you look at considerations within the party, but you cannot ignore the entire optics of the country in choosing or arriving at a conclusion on who should join that ticket. And so that's why it is very, very important. In fact, in more advanced democracies, you have a group, a committee, that will pour through the list of candidates, examine their pedigree, their pronouncements, things that they have done years and years ago, their tax payment, their religious belief, their political leanings, their pronouncement on critical and consequential issues.
Essentially everything that went into consideration in choosing the actual candidate.
Yes, because you see, people do not understand the importance of the VP, Vice President, or the Deputy Governor. He or she is a potential president. In fact, it is said in America that he or she is a heartbeat away.
Indeed.
From the presidency.
Indeed.
Exactly. So,
Indeed.
And the job of a vice president or a deputy governor is to be president or governor.
Indeed. One moment, please. I think we can join up now with Honorable Ibrahim Abdullahi in our Abuja studio, Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. Good morning to you, Mr. Abdullahi.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Indeed, it is our pleasure. Well, congratulations. This is the first time we're able to meet up on the successful conclusion of your presidential primaries with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as your, candidate now. So we're talking about the move now. Attention is going to shift to the search for a running mate, who, as we were just saying in studio, you might have heard, in reality, the vice president or the deputy governor is a heartbeat away from being the president or the governor. How is that going? How is that exercise going in your party?
Well, for us, like you will attest, it's a party that is given to doing things the right way. Experience have shown that PDP has evolved from a political party which will do things on its own whims to becoming one that will exhaust all righteousness, engage with all the organs of the party, and exhaust every opportunity at its disposal before coming up with decision. In other words, over the period that we have lasted in power, 15 years to be precise, we have learned sufficient lessons politically and democratically as to the global best practices on how things are done. Now, in the first 8 years of President Olusegun Obasanjo, PDP might be accused, and that is subjective, of doing things the way it wishes. You will agree that given the background of the person of President Olusegun Obasanjo as a military man, it was difficult for him to adjust fully in the very early days to democratic practices. But soon after, we have learned the ropes. We have imbibed the ethics of democracy and have adjusted accordingly. We've seen that under President Umar Musa Yar'Adua of blessed memory. We've seen much of that under President Goodluck Jonathan before the loss of power in 2015. So coming out of that experience, we are now under a national working committee that is not even more informed and prepared democratically and politically to the best practices of democracy because of the caliber of the persons that are steering the ship of the party. You will see that it's unmatched with any that we have seen within the last 23 years of our return to this republic. So we are coming out with a strategy to ensure that consultation and intensive dialogue to ensure everyone is taken on board in coming out with not just a vice president to pair with Atiku, but even the respective deputy governors in various states of the federation where PDP is in control. You could see how seamlessly we've conducted, our convention. But before then, you would recall that our congresses across the 36 states of the federation had gone very, very seamless. You would also agree that we had a convention that even brought the NWC in place. For the first time also, very, very hitch-free. It was successful. And that climax with the convention that brought our candidate, Atiku Abubakar, in place. Look how cordial everything went. Look how excellent the outcome is. Look how satisfied every member of the party is. Now, going forward, what PDP is doing is to learn from the lesson of 2019, where it is believed Atiku Abubakar unilaterally suggested his running mate in His Excellency Peter Obi, who had been a long-time standing friend and an excellent performer, when he was governor of Anambra State. He was a fantastic choice to behold, but then, because consultation and thorough reach out was not done properly before that choice of Peter Obi as running mate in 2019, it counted against the fortune of the party, as it were, because some of the governors of the Southeast felt shortchanged, alienated, or reduced below their worth, and therefore did not give the desired support. Now what we are doing is to ensure that in addition to the National Working Committee, which is working hand in hand with Atiku Abubakar towards giving him a running mate, we also have committees in place of erudite members of this party who have carved niches for themselves, people who have outstanding political pedigree, to ensure that we dot the T's and dot the I's rather, and cross the T's, and bring somebody that is, like my colleague said, with rich pedigree, somebody who have outstanding credentials to be able to man that office. Since we all are on a page that it is a heartbeat away from either the president himself or the governor in the case of states. So like the United States will do, PDP in Nigeria is doing the same. We're ensuring that we give Nigerians an excellent and fantastic running mate to pair with an Atiku, who we all believe is the president in waiting. So that's where we are.
Yeah. Of course, as you've just said, contrary to what happened in 2019, you're constantly, evolving, revising, and now you say now what happened then will not happen if it was considered that there was a unilateral kind of a declaration. That's not going to happen again. There will have to be guidelines, so that everybody can come on board and, play according to the rules. I just want, first of all, will the presidential candidate of your party, will he have a hand? Because we've heard about leaders wanting, requesting to have a hand in their successor, or in this case now it's not exactly the same thing, but a running mate. Will he have a hand, and how important is that? Okay. I think I can understand. So, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I'm trying again. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
I can.
Yes, I was asking if the guidelines that you set for yourself, whether your presidential candidate himself will still have an input into who his running mate is, even though the structures of the party, as we just explained, shall be brought to bear to ensure that everybody is carried along. But I was just wondering whether or not the candidate himself would have a hand, and if that is an important matter at all.
That is the global best practice, and our own case will not be an exception. Indeed, Atiku Abubakar is not only going to have a hand in who deputizes for him, but he will take the greater part of the decision in ensuring same. As we speak, there are a few names suggested for him, and if it were to be imposed on him, then the suggestion will not have come up. So these names are suggested for him for his ratification accordingly. So certainly it goes without saying that he will have a hand, and a big hand at that, in deciding who appears with him as a running mate.
Can we, of course, people who are not in the party but who are Nigerians and observe our practices and our conventions, they've sort of worked it out that first of all, for sure, the running mate is going to come from the South. That's the first thing. Issues like religion might also figure in it. I guess those are the two big ones. Again, how assiduously are you pursuing these? It could become an intricate affair. Number one, the opposite of where he's coming from, bring it to the South. And then if he's a Muslim, then it has to be a Christian. Are those dried and dusted, or are these just speculations?
Yeah, like I said earlier, PDP is so smart in doing things, and it is a party that adheres to the ethics of managing a federation like Nigeria, where sensitive issues like the ones you have articulated, ideally ought to be taken into cognizance in arriving at informed decisions. So truly, we're looking at, we have already decided in taking the vice presidency to the South. And certainly, it's going to be a Christian Southerner, to be able to assuage the fears that this other region, and of course people professing the other religion, Christianity, would nurse. We're very serious people. We understand the dynamics of managing a federation like Nigeria, and we take seriously those issues, as opposed to what we are hearing in the ruling party, that it might go not in the Nigeria that we live in today. And the problem, substantially, is because of the same mismanagement and lack of regard for this green areas, or what I would want to call red lines, which APC over the last 7 years have abused and violated. We have not shown any regard for federal character. We have not shown any regard for other people across the Niger. We've just carried on as though we have the right to do so. It wouldn't have been a mistake for God Almighty to create us the way He did. And you could see how the APC has fostered, what I would call an apology on Nigeria, a regret, taking this country 200 years backward, because of their insensitivity in managing, a delicate federation like Nigeria. And certainly, PDP will not go that way. You rest assured, we're going to give a Southerner for vice president and a Christian, I can guarantee you, short of mentioning the name of the few persons that we have in mind.
Okay. I'm just curious, Alhaji, what did you mean when you said that the ruling party, in your view, has taken us back 200 years in some of the choices that they have made? Could you elaborate a bit?
Of course, I can, with precision. We have 6 geopolitical zones in this country. And ideally, if we are truly practicing a federation and we have a serious consideration for the federal character principle, I will not see why the southeastern part of this country will cry and exhaust their tears for finding recognition in federal appointments. These people have not been trusted, as it were, even when we are seriously managing what we call the aftermath of the civil war that we fought, which was precipitated by issues of this nature, if you recall. But let's not go back down history lane. What we would expect in deepening our democracy is to ensure that in appointing people, particularly in sensitive offices, that will make people and every other person and the regions across the divide feel part of the federation, is to ensure that at least service chief, these people have cried, and I'm talking about the Igbos in the southeast. I would not see any reason why we cannot find anyone to trust in the southeast to either manage the police or the army or the Air Force or the Navy or the NIA or all of these agencies. There are not less than 10 of them the last time I checked. And we couldn't find in 7 years any one of them to trust in handling this guy. I mean, it leaves much to be desired in our commitment and sincerity in driving a national government with a federal structure. To be honest with you, all of this clamor and agitation you see across the divide, including the Sunday Igbos in the southwest, even when they're strategically positioned in the government, is informed, if you ask me. We gave the room for these things to come up. Before then, we had thought under PDP, Nigeria had advanced to a level where we were looking at the whole country as a federation where every Nigerian would be proud of being called so. But under APC, you've seen the retrogression. I am not talking about the sprawling inflation and other things, rooftop, and then the frightening security that these people have introduced. Because here we are not talking about even they introduced it literally, for whatever political reasons one cannot understand. What we are going through is not only a fallout of a defective system; it's a clear demonstration of incapacity and gross abuse of the privileges of power.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate that Nigerians at this rate will get to see what we are seeing.
Okay, Alhaji Abdullahi, Ibrahim Abdullahi. Let me ask my guest in studio, Curtis Adigba. Your party is the APC, and you've listened to the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. Are there any areas in there that you want to comment on or rebut?
Well, I don't speak for the party.
Of course not.
But speaking as a citizen of the country, it's our politics. I mean, you can come up with whatever you want to say, depending on how you understand the issues to be. But I think Nigerians understand that what we sought to do was a rescue mission. You cannot make an omelette if you don't break the egg. We sought to rescue this country. And I am not saying
from the PDP.
Yes, and I'm not saying that we have achieved our purpose, because like you understand, just like the PDP was not in power completely in Nigeria at any point in time, APC also was not completely in power at any point in time. There were vestiges of the PDP across the country, just like we also existed as our AMPP or what other political parties. Now, but what is important is that I am not one who believes in this idea that the unity of the country can only be secured through political appointment. I think there are better ways that we can secure the unity of this country. There are better ways that we can give ourselves a sense of belonging. Now, in a democracy, states are the laboratories of democracy. In other words, if you want to see pervasive democratic principles in operation, you have to see it practiced at the state level, at the community level, at the local levels, and then it permeates through the entire country. But what we do in this country is we only look at the federal government. Look, the truth be told, how many Nigerians can we even get into government at the federal level? But at the state level, how well have the governors and the local leaders performed in terms of being sensitive to the diversity of this country, in terms of being sensitive to the constitution of their various states? I mean, we have been in your studio here to talk about some states, about how perennially some people within states, have been marginalized and pushed to the wall as if they are not even citizens of this country. Look, so I understand what he's saying, but all that I'm saying is this: if we run a country that is fair, just and equitable to all, the idea of who occupies what position will not even arise. It is the lack of equality of conditions, the conditions that you can excel by your talents, that is the problem. The condition that merit is not even a part of the consideration for who becomes what. Mm-hmm. That's where the problem is. Now, he talked about the appointment of service chiefs.
For example?
If not that we bastardize our values and customs and, ethos, in those days, nobody talked about where the service chiefs come from. It was simply based on competence and seniority in the armed forces. It doesn't matter if you are an Igbo man, a Doma man, a Hausa, but once you are senior. But then we had the time in this country, and that happened precisely under the PDP. Let's look at the police, for instance. The PDP was the first to appoint an AIG as Inspector General of Police and retire all the DIGs. And from there we had this problem. You recall that the late President Yaradua tried to solve some of this problem, where a junior was appointed AIG, and then when he discovered, he reversed it and then brought the senior back and still kept the junior in the police force, and when the senior retired, he made him the IGP. It was an attempt to correct that. So we are a country we're evolving. He said, look, APC took the country back 200 years. Unfortunately, Nigeria is not even up to 100 years.
Well, I understand that. It was hyperbolic.
So I understand what you're saying.
It was hyperbolic.
What is important here is this. I think the political parties and their candidates must ensure that the balancing that we need in this country is achieved. I've heard people say, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't be about religion. It shouldn't be about ethnicity. It shouldn't be about regions. It should simply be about competence. And I say that there is none. There is no religion. There is no region. There is no section of the country where you cannot find competent people. Let no one be deceived about the reality. You see, you can have aspiration, but aspiration is different from reality. The reality of the Nigerian state today is that if you dare put a Christian ticket, you will lose. In other words, if a political party presents two Christians today,
or two Muslims,
or they're not going to vote for that person, no matter what you preach.
Okay.
And if you have a political party that will put a Muslim ticket together, they have to be extremely careful.
Okay.
Don't forget about, don't be deceived by all the lies that we don't care about it.
Yes.
The dynamics has shifted. This is not 1993.
So those things have become crucially important. It's not it's not.
This is not 1993.
Okay. Alhaji Ibrahim Abdullahi, I'm going to come to you, but I've got to go on a break first. A short break. I'll be right back. Please stay with us. Okay, welcome back, and still with us in our Abuja studio is Alhaji Ibrahim Abdullahi, is the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, and we're having a conversation on the search for a running mate for the presidential candidate. APC has just finished its job that the PDP did finished ahead of it. And so attention also is going to be on APC. But for the moment, we're talking about PDP. There are all sorts of rumors. You heard my studio guest, Mr. Curtis Adigba, and he put forward some theories, the way he sees it. I know you said that there's a small set, well, you didn't say small, but at least there's a set that you've sort of reduced everything to and that you're managing. I feel pretty sure that you're not about to share members of that particular set. But on the street, names like Wike, for example, names like Ifeanyi Okowa are thrown up all over the place. And one can understand perhaps why. There's also that name. Or is it possible for you to share with us people in that select group that might actually be considered?
Yeah, before I do that, let me quickly respond to the position of my co-panelist, Curtis. Mr. Curtis might not be a politician like he has stated himself, and therefore, as an analyst, I am not sure you will understand exactly what managing a political campaign is about. And when you go to seek votes of people, it's easy to come and talk is cheap. But when you are now going to engage people whose votes you will be seeking, then you have to take those issues that I have talked about very seriously. You're talking about you as an individual not giving a damn or not taking it as seriously as people who want to address the issue of either zoning or people's interest in running a system or a government. That's a very important thing. We had a period in Nigerian history where that was not important. And that, again, you have answered by saying when you have people that are serious, people who mean well in the federation, people who understand the purpose of governance, people who understand exactly what their calling is once given a mandate. But we are unfortunately under people, like I don't want to call them what I usually call them in studio, army of occupation. They came here and assured us they were going to fix the problem, the myriads of problems that they inherited. Like they said, none of it. There were three fundamentals upon which this government, under which this government came about: economy, anti-corruption, and fight against insurgency. Not one of it is 10% accomplished as we speak. But even if you choose to leave all of these ones, go back to the issues of saying we had an Abiola Muslim ticket, and it worked because of the integrity of the person in question. That is Chief MKO Abiola. You can't try it now, and you have said that.
Yes.
Why are you not trying it now? Because we have seen why people are using the advantage at their disposal to inflict penury on others or shortchange others in a federation. I am not just from the Northwest, where President Buhari is from. I am a Muslim like him. But I can tell you that the worst thing that will happen to Nigeria is the presidency of President Muhammadu Buhari. And very quickly, you said, even though you helped me out by letting him know that that was hyperbolical when I said it took Nigeria 200 years backward. Nigeria existed over 500 years, if I must tell you. But I'm talking about pre-colonial Nigeria. Nigeria was better by far than what we have today. Even the amalgamation of the Federation in 1914, we saw territories that were governed by purposeful leaders than what we are seeing today and than what obtains on ground. So you cannot move on because people then had commerce, they were engaged in their commerce, they were engaged in their agriculture, they were engaged in their trade, they did everything, they could interact, they could travel across the length and breadth of the country without any undue security challenge. You can't dare try it today. And you are telling me we are not 200. We are back to Hobbesian state of nature, where life is solitary, nasty, brutish, and short. And somebody is telling me we are not 200 years backward. We are 500 years backward. Okay. And we need to call a spade by its name. Who foisted it on us? APC.
1 second, Alhaji Ibrahim.
So, in coming back to your question, please. Okay. Yes, Nigeria, PDP is not narrow to only the three names that you have mentioned. Okay. It's not even narrow to the south, as it were. Mm-hmm. We could decide to surprise you by taking even the running mate from the southwest. We could go to the southeast So the question of saying those names you have mentioned, yes, they are in the radar, but in the fullness of time, we will communicate to Nigerians and bring them up to speed as to why we have decided on who is to pair with Atiku. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Alhaji, I think you misunderstood what I said. But even if I were to accept what you said, if you said this government took Nigeria back 200 years, and you said the 200 years was a better period than what we have now, so why do you want to? Because if I understand you well, you said Nigeria existed before it became a country and things were better. No. And so if you are saying then that APC took us back to those eras that was better than now, so what then is the problem? But you see, this is not about political sophistry. And this is not about experience. You talked about global best practices. Nobody is going to reinvent the wheel. You can stay here and trade the needle as much as you want. But the reality is that Nigerians do understand what the two political parties offer them or has offered them. Now, if the picture you have painted here of your party was so good, so brilliant, worked well for everybody, of course Nigerians wouldn't have made a change in 2015. They made a change because things were not working well. And I'm not saying that the APC has met the expectation of all Nigerians. The reality, however, is that it is not for lack of trying. Now, when a nation chooses corruption as a way of living, that everything has to be through corruption. Let me give you an example. When you say the government didn't fight corruption, it's not for lack of trying. The role of the government is not to jail people. The role of the government is to identify that certain individuals had breached public trust and that they ought to go before the courts, right? Now, if the government sends people to court, and the court in their wisdom said they cannot find them guilty, either for technical reasons or whatever reason.
So you can't blame that on the politicians.
You can't blame that on the government for not fighting corruption. Now, all you can say is that the system, the democratic system, was used to free those people. Now, when you talk about insurgency, like I said, I'm not a spokesperson for the party. What I thought we were coming here to discuss today was about the choice of the VPs and all that.
Well, it is what we are discussing.
Yes,
and it just is a conversation that we
let me say this clearly, that if there's one thing both of us agreed, is the fact that Nigeria has shifted dramatically because of the interplay of toxic politics.
So it's not 93 anymore.
No, 93.
When it was possible to do a Muslim ticket.
We live in a country today. You know, Nigeria used to be a country where Nigerians can live anywhere they decide to live in. People like Azikiwe were born in Niger State. I grew up as a young man, as a student in the University of Jos. The chief judge of Plateau State was not from Plateau State at the time. And we had everywhere all over the country. Then politicians came into the midst and introduced toxicity into our politics. They weaponized ethnicity and religion to stay relevant in the system.
Okay.
And that's exactly what they are still doing. So now that they have done that,
yes,
in trying to throw some level of balance into the system, you cannot feign that, you know, these things don't matter. Like I hear people say, you know, ethnicity doesn't matter. Okay. Religion does not matter. You know, all you need to do is...
I hear you, but I wanted to, you know, we have a topic, a subject matter for guidance. I wanted us to sort of course, I understand how it will extend now and again outside of that sphere. But Alhaji Ibrahim Abdullahi has said that, the small set of names that we mentioned, it's possible that those names might be in it, but it's not necessarily exclusive to those names that we had mentioned, and that they could come from.
But he didn't mention my name. Alhaji didn't mention my name, and it's possible that I can be on that list.
It's not possible. You're not in his party. You're not in PDP. You're not in PDP. So, Alhaji, you were saying that, there are other names there. Of course, everybody would sort of understand if, and I'm not saying that I have taken that impression, if the governor of Rivers State feels that it is his right and to be considered seriously, perhaps more so than others. there are going to be parameters, right, on how you make that decision.
Yes, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State is eminently qualified, if not more qualified, to expect that consideration as the running mate to Atiku Abubakar. For one, he is an outstanding performer. And I've always argued that since the return of this republic in 1999, we are yet to produce a governor across party lines that would perform 50% what Wike has done in the state of Rivers. He's an outstanding performer. There's no doubt about that. There's no contest about that. He's also one person who has ebullience and energy that is second to none. It's incomparable to anyone that you have seen.
Can you have too much of a good thing? Can you have too much of a good thing?
Too much of a good thing.
Yeah, I was asking if you can have
Hello?
that. Yes, that is what I asked. That look, is it possible to have too much of a good thing? You were just telling us about Governor Wike and some sterling aspects of the person.
Of course, every Nigerian living would have known that no governor since the last Wike became governor in the last 7 years has performed, like I said, 50% as much as Wike has done. But I'm not even narrowing it to Wike's period in governance. I mean, as governor of Rivers State. I have taken it as far back as 1999 when we started this republic. Wike cannot be matched with any other person.
Yes.
First, there are states today that are dreaming to put just flyover, one flyover in their state. Wike has more than 11 and is counting. As I talk to you, Wike just returned from primaries, and he has gone already to start commissioning pending jobs that he left while he was busy campaigning. And as I'm talking to you, in the next 2 months, you will see Nigerians, floating to River State to go and commission. He said he will not stop until the very last day that he will hand over as governor of River State. That's given. So the question of performance, addressing the issues back home, giving his people sense of belonging, reviving the economy, and ensuring security, which was not the case when he took over. You could remember the insecurity permeating the state of Rivers. Wike has been able to put all of these things. So the question of him as an outstanding performer is not in doubt. But even if you choose to take your eyes away from that, Wike campaigned as a Southerner and came second in the just concluded primaries. And the result that Wike has been able to bring out is something that needs to be commended. He came out and fought like a Trojan, and he went back. His people said he has not lost any battle, and I think I agree with them. He lost no battle. Okay. And because we are a people that are given to doing things the right way, we understand what democracy is, so that Nigerians will be the beneficiaries out there from. The victor was congratulated by Wike, and in less than 24 hours rather, he went to pay a courtesy call on Wike to thank him and to seek his blessing in ensuring that we relieve Nigeria, we salvage Nigeria from this twin malady of hunger and poverty, from this despair and despondency that has permeated the land. What is most important for PDP is the critical understanding that they have been shortchanged. They have been brought to their knees by an administration that has demonstrated gross hopelessness. So we just need to get back the country first. It doesn't matter who, but you could see Wike understanding that much. People have thought our presidential convention would have spelled doom to PDP. But you could see where we are going. Not only are we getting stronger, we are already congratulating ourselves ahead of the victory that lies ahead. Correct. So for us, we already have light at the end of the tunnel. We are congratulating Nigeria for having this hope ahead of them. And certainly, it will be something worth celebrating for Nigeria, at least to rescue Nigeria from these merchants of debt that are masquerading as a government.
I think we're going to have to leave it there. Alhaji Ibrahim Abdullahi.
I was just going to say something.
Yeah, you see, we've got to let Alhaji go so that.
Oh, okay. No, I wanted him to hear what I was saying. Going to say.
Okay, quickly.
So,
because I don't want to turn this to a PDP.
No. It's not. I'm just making this comment as a Nigerian.
Yes.
Alhaji's party is so sensitive to the makeup of Nigeria, right? But that is a party with 5 states in the north that are PDP, 8 in the south, right? But yet, Northerners, the north has the presidential ticket, the chairman of the BOT, and the chairman of the party. That is how sensitive the party is to the aspiration of Nigeria.
I think, okay, you wanted to make this point. Alhaji Ibrahim Abdullahi, I didn't want it to become back and forth, but I'll give you the last word because it's your party that we're talking about and you're running it. A brief last word.
Yeah, you could see Mr. Curtis is denying the fact that he's a spokesperson of the APC. His disposition.
He's just a member.
I'm just a Nigerian.
An active member.
I think he was asking me earlier if his name could be mentioned out of the president. As a Southerner, we are so concerned about everybody. It's possible you will just hear your name because we are progressive-minded people.
That's great.
And therefore, what you are talking about has already been addressed and is taken very seriously, the issue of balancing and zoning. You will see in the days ahead how intricately we are going to look at this issue and ensure everybody feel among in the house. It's a shift that is given to accommodating everyone. So the question of, we just had the convention where a northerner emerged. So we will do the adjustments accordingly to give the necessary balancing. Rest assured about that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alhaji Abdullahi, Ibrahim Abdullahi, Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. And thank you very much for giving us something of an insight into the processes that will lead to the emergence of a running mate for your presidential candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Thanks very much.
My pleasure.
All right then. Okay. So, it's interesting. APC also has their own that they're going to come, and we're going to have this conversation all over again. But Alhaji Abdullahi was so kind there to give us something of an insight and why he was acted between the both of you. One not being a spokesperson for the APC, but being quite feisty in observing some other aspects. I think we can open up the phones now. Okay, there you go.
The only thing Alhaji considered to us is the fact that they are going to have a Christian from the south. He never gave us any name. When you're ready, pick your call.
No, he never gave us any name.
He never gave us any name. But look, sitting here, I can tell you.
Well,
names that have been mentioned.
He didn't deny those names, but he said it's not necessarily limited to that, and that they could pull a rabbit out of their hat by way of surprise.
They have even come down to 2 names. Trust me.
Okay, 1 second, please. Mazi Okorafo, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I want to find out from the discussion now. PDP raising panel as Nike Okowa looking for VP slot. Good morning, sir. They said PDP raising panel for the vice president Okowa Wike. But last early this week, that Wike said it's not just a member or short. It's not a material for second slot. So I don't know what the Alhaji was saying, because if you look at what Alhaji is saying and what the paper is saying now, we don't know which one is true story, which other. But the question is this: VP or no VP is not the issue that matters. But the question is, how do they balance?
Well, you just heard Alhaji Abdullahi say that they are working on improving on that particular aspect of the dynamic.
The first statement he made that it's not ready for VP. So I don't know. There's a confusion statement in there. If you read it, get something dictionary of the other BBC dictionary or Makewe dictionary. I'm going to.
Okay.
Because it's the statement you make. People will use it to account for you. So, agreed that Nike has performed. Agreed that Okowa has performed. But the question is this: does it mean the PDP cannot go outside and pick somebody? Must he be the governor?
Okay,
Look,
I got your point. I got to let go of you so that I can see if I can get another call.
Like
thank you very much.
Mazi also.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okora, for calling in. Yeah, but I thought, Elijah Abdullahi was pretty clear, in his statements. He had said that those people were invaluable to their party.
But
people couldn't argue with Wike's achievements.
But you see, I had to make Alhaji defend that position. You can't be talking about being sensitive to the Nigerian system, the reality on ground, and yet in your party, okay, where you have minority today,
yes,
in terms of the number of states they have.
Yes.
In fact, look.
But he did say that they're working on
until
that.
we see that. I mean, so
he did say it clearly.
That's why I said he cannot come here and be lecturing us on the sense of fairness, equity, and justice. Because if you have 5 states, without the southern states, today, PDP would have disappeared. That's the truth of the matter.
Okay. Let me take Mr. Akere. Akere calling in from Kwara State. Good morning to you, sir. Atere. Oh, I beg your pardon. Atere, yes. Mr. Atere. Good morning, yes, sir. Thank you for calling.
Good morning. How are you? Good morning. Yes, I want to contribute to these issues.
Sure.
I want Nigerians to be wary of PDP. I can't hear you anymore.
We can hear you. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. I want Nigerians to be wary of the tactics of this PDP, trying to fly a kite that the Muslim ticket is not possible. We cannot hold that. It is we are looking at how the APC will win the winning team that will make sure APC come back to the train. After all, the PDP also jettisoned the rotational system by saying that they want to win at all costs. And now to jettison the Southeast that has invested mostly in the PDP to now make sure Atiku came back on board. Now, the flag bearer of APC is already representing the Christians of the South and the North. Whatever the North decide to bring on board, we are going along with them. We should understand that the Yorubas are not religious bigots as far as this country is concerned. This is my point. The APC should be careful in picking their running mate because the PDP as a team is jittery because they know Muslim ticket will fly.
Okay.
Now look at the barrister with
What you are saying, sir, Mr. Atere, is that a Muslim ticket could fly, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It could fly. Even though the point has been made that if the country has moved, there's been a lot of water under the bridge since '93, is what has been said.
I can't hear you, please.
I said, the point was also made by especially, I think both the gentlemen made the point that since '93, a lot of water has passed under the bridge, and what worked in '93 might not necessarily work anymore. But in any case, the important thing is for both of them to keep dynamic and keep, the fingers on the tabs of the evolution of our society. But thank you very much for calling in, sir. Appreciate your call.
Yes. America is a super nation. When you say super nation, it's made up of all ethnic groups. We've never had a Muslim presidential candidate in America. So it means that it's been Christian faith or Jewish. But you know what? The evangelicals in America play a big role, yes, in the contest. They will look at you, even when both are Christians. They then go to look at the values. But we're talking of a country where you have clear lines of division. If anybody feels that a Muslim ticket or a Christian ticket will sell, the person
they need to think again.
Is having a nightmare. Not a dream.
Curtis, we're going to have to leave it here.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we're going to, quite interesting conversation. And our thanks to Ibrahim Abdullahi, the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, as I said, for giving us an insight into the thinking regarding the question of a running mate. So, So that's our program. I want to thank you too, Curtis Adigba. Thank you very much for coming.
For having me, sir.
You know, please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am. Oh well, that's Monday actually. Remember how it is. One just wants to go on every day, but the next date is Monday. Do have a great weekend. I am Yori Folani. Bye bye for now.